Now on to the serious bit. My message to the Big 12. Last Saturday, I had the opportunity to go to a Friendsgiving. We did the whole thing about saying what you're grateful for, and there's always been the stereotypical answers. But the thing that jumped to my mind the most that I don't necessarily think about as much as I ought to was indeed BYU football. There were a few scoffs and eye rolls from my friends, and some comments that I wish that people didn't make, because I find them to be rude. But I really mean it. I'm very grateful to my Cougs. I thought that this season was going to be a wash. I was not optimistic of this season. And the Cougars have given me something to look forward to every week. And that has been awesome. BYU football has been extremely healing for me this year. I began this channel after a series of traumatic events in my life. I had a lot on my mind, and I wanted a healthy outlet to get some of the things off my chest. There were a myriad of topics I could have chosen, and I selected sports, because I thought that of all the topics I could talk about, that was the safest one to start with. Enter Cincinnati. Thousands of people in that stadium decided to greet BYU with the all too familiar chant of F the Mormons. I thought we fixed this months ago. Not 24 hours after the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the church that owns BYU, donates over 27,000 pounds of food to your community, you thank them with a big, fat F-U. Tacky. Very, very tacky. Now, I think that particular talking point is a little disingenuous, given that I have no way of knowing if anyone in the stadium knew about this donation from the church, unless, of course, it was broadcast over the speakers. However, BYU and the church that it comes from are no strangers to religious bigotry. Our early church history is filled with horrors that could fill libraries. The fact that this is true is just incredibly sad to me. Nobody says F the Catholics at Notre Dame games, Baylor games, or TCU games. In fact, no religious group of any kind is mocked in the fashion that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is at college games. This week just hit a little differently to me, especially when I found out that one of the attendees in this game was a couple from an LDS family from Grand Blanc, Michigan. Yes, that Grand Blanc, Michigan. The Grand Blanc, Michigan, where the LDS church was attacked by someone who thought that Mormons were the Antichrist. This couple was not only at the church that was attacked, but had several members in their family wounded in this attack. They had come to this BYU football game to experience some normalcy, only to be greeted by thousands of people screaming their filth and delivering a pretty clear message. You are not welcome here. I've been trying not to spiral because I've been in a very dark place quite often the last couple months, since September 10th, 2025. I was at Utah Valley University in the courtyard when a speaker by the name of Charlie Kirk was shot and killed right in front of me, 20 feet away. I was in the line of fire, actually. A month after that, our prophet died, and the next day, Grand Blanc happened. A little after that, I decided to make this channel to ease the turmoil I've witnessed personally and my community has endured. My church community has endured. I thought hard about if I wanted to do political commentary, given the nature of the events that I have seen. But I decided on sports. Once again, I thought this topic would be more fun and less of a dangerous topic. As I've shown many times on this channel, I can be wrong. One reason why this instance is so hard is because I keep getting more reasons to fear living outside of Utah as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My biggest fear in life is not getting into a car accident, or heights, or spiders, or anything of the sort. My biggest fear in this world is existing as myself anywhere outside of here. There must be consequences for these chants going forward. There must be consequences for halftime shows where my faith is mocked. That didn't happen at the Cincinnati game, but it has happened in the past. Oregon already faced some of those consequences when a highly recruited quarterback who was a member of the LDS Church decided to leave the state of Oregon and come to BYU after he attended one of their games, and the all too familiar chants came from the Oregon audience. I'm a bit confused about what to do, though. If you make a rule on the field if you make the rule that there's a penalty on the field, then people will dress up as their opponents to try to rile up the crowd to then penalize their opponent. That doesn't feel enforceable. Are we going to escort thousands of people out of the stadium? What security force is capable of safely and efficiently doing that? If you cancel the tailgate, the idiot drunkards will just party somewhere else. That's not going to prevent things from happening in the stadium. There are people that are smarter than I am that can find a solution to this, and they should. This has to end, and it has to end immediately, and it has to end across the league. BYU deserves better than what the Big 12 has given them. I also must say this. It's rivalry week. Way too often, there is legitimate hatred of our fellow men because of the color of the clothes they wear on game day. This clearly seeps outside of the arena and outside of the field and has to stop too. I've had some of my colleagues who are fans of the University of Utah tell me that they have been raised to hate BYU and their fans. This isn't unique to the Holy War, of which I'm very glad that we played earlier on in the year, given the current circumstances. This cannot be how sometimes you forget to turn off Do Not Disturb mode and you get a phone call. Hopefully that didn't disrupt the video. This cannot be how we act any longer. Rivalries need to be for picking someone to root against, and can no longer be about picking a people to hate. This is no longer just some dumb thing that idiot people do. This must be taken seriously. And because of that, I'll conclude with the words of Brandy Hicken, the mother in the family from Grand Blanc, in a letter to Cincinnati's athletic director. 8 short weeks ago, while attending church, we were attacked at our place of worship simply for being Mormon. Someone with hatred in their heart rammed their truck into the front of our church building, entered the chapel, and began shooting us and setting our church on fire while many people were still hiding inside. As my family, me, my husband, and our 3 children ran for our lives, my husband and my 5-year-old daughter were both shot. I was also running with my 15-year-old baby and my 3-year-old in my arms as I was struck in the back with shrapnel. I will spare you the further details about the nightmare we lived through and that day and the recovery that has followed. But miraculously, me and my family all made it out alive. The anxiety and fear we have felt since that day has been debilitating. We have put in a lot of work in that short 8 weeks so that we can try to feel some form of safety and normalcy again and enjoy the things that we used to, including football games. We had been planning to come see this game for months, as we don't get the opportunity to see many BYU games in person since we moved across the country for my husband's medical training. We almost didn't come because it felt scary and overwhelming since the attack on our church. However, we know we cannot live in fear, and we need to enjoy the things that used to make us happy. We decided to come, and that took a lot for both of us, mentally and physically. I was nervous putting on my BYU gear that day because I knew that it would identify me as one of the Mormons. I did it anyway. I was apprehensive when I walked down to my seat and saw the nearest exit was pretty far from me. I continued to my seat anyway. We came, we smiled, we cheered. We enjoyed ourselves. Until the University of Cincinnati fans started to chant, "F the Mormons." This is not a new chant. This is not a chant that is specific to your university. This is a chant that I've heard before while enjoying football game, whether in person or on TV. It's always disheartening to hear. However, now that we Mormons have been quite literally targeted, attacked, chased, shot at, and some of us have been killed simply for being Mormon, this chant is no longer just disheartening. It's crippling. It's personal. It's unacceptable, period. While I did hear the announcer give a warning over the speakers at the game that such chants will not be tolerated, it was simply just that, a warning. It was not just a few fans. It was tens, possibly hundreds of the university's students chanting "F the Mormons." Please, Mr. Cunningham, do not tolerate it. Remove them from the game. Don't let them come back. Educate them on the seriousness of their actions. Set that standard and expectation moving forward and enforce it. We are hurting. Badly. I'm going to add myself to that, but I can't imagine what they were going through. We just want to enjoy the things that make us happy again without the fear of being targeted and attacked for our religious beliefs. I know you have no control over the Cincy fans on the shuttle after the game ranting about Mormons are awful and how we must have paid off the refs because we're corrupt and evil. I don't get it, but I'm used to it. It's not new to me to hear this stuff in these huge misconceptions about my faith. But now it is personal. Now it is me fearing for my life everywhere I go because someone decided to take it there. Someone tried to kill me, my kids, and my husband. Someone killed 4 of my friends. Now the chanting means something more than it used to. I know you can't control the actions and words of the fans on the bus. However, I do believe you have the ability to get control of your students' hurtful and hateful chanting. If you made this far, thank you for listening. If I am mistaken at any actions that were or were not taken as a result of the chanting, please feel free to correct me. I would welcome the reassurance. Sincerely, Brandy Hicken, a fellow college football fan, a Mormon, a Christian, a mass casualty hate crime survivor, a person deserving of respect. Big 12. Brett Yormark. College sports as a whole. End this. This has been Newbie Sports.